The House will come to order.
Madam Speaker, point of personal privilege.
I recognize the member from Martin, Representative Olson, to your point of personal privilege.
Members, I have a House resolution honoring the life and service of Master Sergeant Nicole M. Amor of White Bear Lake, Minnesota. Whereas the men and women of the United States Armed Forces who risk their lives and give selflessly of their time and energy to defend our nation's freedom perform an extraordinary service deserving of the highest recognition and gratitude. And
I recognize the member from Dakota, Representative Hewitt.
Whereas Master Sergeant Nicole Amor enlisted in the National Guard in October 2005 and later served in the Army Reserve as a Transportation Management Coordinator, MSO 88N, provided critical logistical and sustainable support, including multiple deployments in support of the United States forces. And
I recognize the member from Waseca, Representative Sexton.
Whereas Master Sergeant Amor gave her life in honorable service to our nation on March 1st, 2026, while serving on active duty with Headquarters and Headquarters Company, 103rd Sustainment Command Expeditionary at Port Shuaibah, Kuwait, and
the member from Clay, Representative Keeler.
Whereas beyond her military service, Master Sergeant Amor was a loving daughter, sister, devoted wife, and mother who found her greatest joy in the quiet, everyday moments and time spent with her husband, her 2 children, building a life rooted in love, laughter, sarcasm, and
the member from Beltrami, Representative Bliss.
Whereas throughout her distinguished career, Master Sergeant Amor was awarded the Purple Heart, Bronze Star, and the Combat Action Badge, and numerous other decorations in recognition of her service and sacrifice. Now, therefore,
the member from Ramsey, Representative Curran.
Be it resolved by the Committee on Rules and Legislative Administration of the House of Representatives of the State of Minnesota that it honors the life, service, and sacrifice of Master Sergeant Nicole M. Amor of White Bear Lake and extends deepest condolences to her husband, children, family, and friends. And Madam Speaker, I request a moment of silence.
Members, please rise for a moment of silence in honor. Members, we're advancing to the order of business, motions and resolutions. I recognize the member from Martin, Representative Olson. The clerk will report the motion.
Olson moves that the rules of the House be so far suspended so that House Bill number 4987 be recalled from the Committee on Transportation, Finance, and Policy, be given its second and third readings, and be placed upon its final passage.
The member from Martin, Representative Olson.
thank you, Madam Speaker and members. House File 4987 is the bill that will rename the highway in White Bear Lake the Master Sergeant Nicole M. Amor Memorial Highway. This highway is 1 block away from her family's home, and her family every day upon returning home from work or the grocery store will be reminded of the sacrifice but also the honor that we are bestowing upon them today to recognize this sacrifice, saying that the state of Minnesota recognizes the great expense that this is and the honor that we're going to bestow upon them. I ask for your support.
I recognize the member from Ramsey, Representative Curran.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Representative Olson. I would encourage members please to support this motion. Again, White Bear Lake is incredibly devastated but incredibly proud that Master Sergeant Nicole Amor was part of our community, and we want to ensure that everyone knows who she is, who she was, and the sacrifice that she gave to our community. I ask for your support. Thank you.
All those in favor of the motion say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion prevails.
Pursuant to Article 4, Section 19 of the Constitution of the State of Minnesota, Olson moves that the rule therein be suspended and an urgency be declared so that House File Number 4987 be giving its third reading and be placed upon its final passage.
I recognize the member from Martin, Representative Olson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. This is a way in which we will forever enshrine into history the sacrifice and the recognition of the state of Minnesota of the sacrifice that we are bestowing today, or that we are honoring today. I ask for your support.
Representative Curran.
Once again, thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Thank you to members in the chamber for giving us this space to do this today, and thank you to Representative Olson for making sure that we could get this done, and I ask for your support. Thank you.
All those in favor of the motion say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion prevails. The clerk will give the bill its second reading.
Second reading, House File Number 4987.
Second reading. I recognize the member from Martin, Representative Olson.
Madam Speaker, I believe there are no further amendments at the desk, and so we can give this its third reading.
There are no amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House File Number 4987.
Third reading. Discussion to the bill, Representative Olson.
Last time, members, this is your chance to vote. Let's light the board up green for the Master Sergeant Nicole M. Amor Memorial Highway.
I recognize the member from Ramsey, Representative Curran.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Again, thank you, Representative Olson. And I agree, please light up a green board to support our community in White Bear Lake. Thank you.
The clerk will take the roll. The clerk will call the names of the members participating remotely.
Jones.
Jones, aye.
Jones votes aye. Momani Hilsley.
Momani Hilsley, aye.
Momani Hilsley votes aye.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 126 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is passed and its title is agreed to. Calendar for the day. The first bill on the calendar for today is Senate File 476. The clerk will report the bill.
Senate File Number 476, an act relating to state government, modifying policy provisions relating to continuity of care.
I recognize the author of the bill, the member from Hennepin, Representative Noor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. This bill is the Human Services Policy Bill that improves the health and safety of patients in assisted living facilities, enhance protection for vulnerable adults, and also ensure that we have a program integrity in our system when it comes to medical assistance. Mr. Speaker, I do have a DE3 amendment.
There is an amendment at the desk. The chief clerk will report the amendment.
Noor moves to amend Senate File Number 476, the unofficial engrossment. The amendment is coded DE3.
I recognize the member from Hennepin, Representative Noor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. Again, this is the Human Services Policy Bill. The Article 1 addresses the direct care and treatment policy areas. This ensures that there's protection for the employees when it comes to harassment from the patient and the clients. It addresses some minor technical changes and also addresses a few policy and budget continuation within the direct care and treatment. In Article 2, that is the section for the extension of those budget items for the advisory and also for the correctional and detention facilities. Article 3 describes the Department of Health policy sections. In Article 4, it's about the aging and disability services that covers a few things that I've just described previously. In Article 5, it's the behavioral health policy. And Article 7, those are policy changes in the maltreatment of vulnerable adults. And Article 8 is the continuity of care. And Article 9 is about the miscellaneous changes within the policy. Members, this is a complete package for the policy that our members have worked on, and also in consultation with the Senate to make sure that our bill is ready, and I ask for your support.
I recognize the member from Rock, Representative Schumacher.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And members, I would also ask for support for the DE3 amendment here. There's some new language in here that I think the people who have been working on that should be happy with. We brought in a lot of stakeholder work to try and get agreement on things. As we talked to the Senate, as Chair Noor had said, there were some things that had some controversy, but in the areas where people were willing to work together, particularly in the world of aging and long-term care, those pieces in which they were willing to work together to find resolve, we were able to get that language in. In areas where groups were not interested in working with the long-term care imperative or others, those provisions got dropped, and that's the way it should be in here. If we can't find peace in the valley, we shouldn't be advancing things. And so I'm glad to see that, and glad for the people who are willing to work to get to a resolution a lot of these things, and glad for some of the redemption that comes along with some of that. Further redemption comes to the legislature in the work that gets put in through here. We see the non-cost provisions in this bill that help correct some of the decisions that DHS had made on its own over the last, through the interim last year, putting up guardrails on the processes, especially when it comes to fraud, and how we would want that to go forward so that we understand and providers understand when they're providing care what that service looks like, especially in cases of fraud. And so, members, I would ask for your support.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of the DE amendment? Oh, that's right. We have amendments to the amendment. The Chief Clerk will report the amendment to the amendment.
Curran moves to amend the Noor amendment to Senate File Number 476, the unofficial engrossment, as follows. The amendment is coded. The amendment to amendment is coded A8.
I recognize the author of the amendment to the amendment, the member from Ramsey, Representative Curran.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, members. The A8 represents a bill that we heard in Human Services Committee to take what some might say a creative look at how we operate or how we navigate human services programs. And the underlying bill that this amendment references would establish a legislative working group, and that would allow us to actually meet with people in the community, meet with stakeholders, listen to people who are served in the ICS program before DHS or the state decides to make changes without that much needed community input. It's unfortunate that what we're hearing right now is that DHS is working on their own version of a replacement program, but that remains without community input, without legislator input. And I can pass it off if other members have comments at this time.
Further discussion to the amendment to the amendment. I recognize the member from Ramsey, Representative Curran.
All right, thank you, Mr. Speaker. The point being that we had a lot of really emotional, powerful testimony that was brought into the Human Services Committee this year. We know that it's really difficult for people with disabilities and those who care for them to make it here at the Capitol and tell us what works and what doesn't. I was hoping that this legislature would have that opportunity over the interim to work directly with people on a program that can work. It's my understanding, though, that it is too late to be able to make this change, and I regretfully will have to withdraw this amendment.
Representative Curran withdraws the amendment to the amendment. There is an amendment to the amendment at the desk. The chief clerk will report the amendment to the amendment.
Curran moves to amend the Noor amendment to Senate File number 476, the unofficial engrossment. The amendment to the amendment is coded A11.
I recognize a member from Ramsey, Representative Curran.
Thank you one more time, Mr. Speaker. The A11 changes billing limits on individualized home supports with training from 6 hours daily to a monthly cap of up to 182.5 hours monthly. Last legislature, some changes were made sort of behind closed doors without community input that has put significant restraints on people who are using this service right now. And it is my hope that we will be able to continue moving forward so that families can access the services they need. We know that not everybody who needs services can predict exactly how many hours each day in a month that they might need. This gives the flexibility that people are asking for. I do understand that DHS has some concerns that there may be a small cost associated. So at this time, I will withdraw the amendment. Thank you.
Representative Curran withdraws the amendment to the amendment. To the underlying amendment, discussion. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of the amendment, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed, say nay. The motion prevails. The amendment is adopted. There's a motion at the desk. The chief clerk will report the motion.
Noor moves that Rule 3.33 relating to amendments must be pre-filed be suspended for the purpose of offering the Noor amendment, the A13, to Senate File number 476.
I recognize the maker of the motion, the member from Hennepin, Representative Noor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. This is the technical changes that we got from the agency to make sure that the bill is in the right shape and addresses some few changes on the dates that are included in this amendment. I will ask for your support.
Any further discussion? I recognize the member from Rock, Representative Schumacher.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would also offer support and ask for that support.
Any further discussion on the motion to suspend the rules? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion to suspend the rules, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed, say nay. The motion prevails. The rules are suspended. There's an amendment at the desk. The chief clerk will report the amendment.
Noor moves to amend Senate File number 476 as amended, and the amendment is coded A13.
I recognize the author of the amendment, the member from Hennepin, Representative Noor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. As I noted, this is just a technical changes that we received from the agency to make sure that our bill is in the right shape, so I ask for your support.
I recognize the member from Rock, Representative Schumacher.
We'll try this again, Mr. Speaker. Good amendment, vote yes.
Any further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed, say nay. The motion prevails. The amendment is adopted. There are no further amendments at the desk. The chief clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, Senate File number 476 as amended.
Third reading. Discussion. I recognize a member from Blue Earth, Representative Frederick.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to start by thanking Chair Schumacher and Chair Noor. For a second year in a row, they put on display what bipartisanship looks like, and I think they did a fantastic job. So thank you both. This bill has a lot of good provisions in it. I'm just going to highlight three brief ones. One of the problems we were trying to address with this bill is in the Minnesota Sex Offender Program, people who have been civilly committed are using our state's data practice laws to be able to access data on the staff in those programs and then try to intimidate the staff based on the information that they get on them, like where they went to college. And so then they're going to those staff saying, oh, I see you went to a college at a certain space. Do you have family there? And then they're trying to intimidate and bully the staff. We close some of those loopholes with this bill. There's other issues where individuals who have been civilly committed if they've been out for about 60 days, we are extending it to 90 days where they can come back voluntarily if something happened and they just need additional support for that small time frame. Maybe it's a little bit more than 60 days. We're giving up to 90 days now without having them to go through this whole big process again. And finally, the staff in the program, we are giving DCT the ability to move some staff from the unclassified to the classified positions. And so people who have potentially been doing the same job for the last 20, 30 years don't have to go through the application process all over again. This was something that was missed when we separated out DCT from DHS. So this is a good bill. Thank you to both chairs.
Further discussion on the bill? I recognize the member from Rock, Representative Schumacher.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I would encourage support for this. I think that's been a word I've been using a lot this afternoon. And would just, crap, I was going to do it again. Just vote for the bill.
Further discussion? I recognize the author of the bill, the member from Hennepin, Representative Noor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. First of all, I just wanted to thank the partisan staff who worked with us, Simon Brown, Marley Peterson, Megan Rosberg, J.R. Swanson, Rebecca Reines, Elijah Henderson, the pages Shelby and Henry, the nonpartisan staff Sarah Sanderman, Danielle Pugnelli, Elizabeth Clarkfist, and also Doug Berg, who really helped us. And I don't want to forget the reviser's office for doing the amazing work to get the bill in the shape that we have right now. And to the members of the Human Services team from both sides for working together and putting a bill that works for the state of Minnesota. And I would like to thank my co-chair, Schumacher, who has been an amazing partner in ensuring that we take care of the people of Minnesota, that our system is there to protect those who need the most. Our systems are there to ensure that we do not forget about the vulnerable individuals, but also making sure that we put program integrity first and make sure that we're protecting the taxpayers' money. He's done an amazing job in getting us where we are today, and this bill addresses the gaps that exist in our policies to ensure that the continuity of care is available to those who need the most. And this is a good bill, and I ask for your green vote. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker and members.
Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll. The clerk will call the names of the members voting remotely.
Jones.
Jones, aye.
Jones votes aye. Kozlowski.
Kozlowski votes aye.
Kozlowski votes aye. Momani Hiltsley.
Momani Hiltsley, aye.
Momani Hiltsley votes aye.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 93 yeas and 39 nays, the bill is passed as amended and its title agreed to. Members, the next bill on the calendar for the day is House File 4546. The chief clerk will report the bill.
House File number 4546, an act relating to human services, adjustments to forecasted programs for the Department of Human Services and the Department of Children, Youth, and Families.
I recognize the author of the bill, the member from Hennepin, Representative Noor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. This is the focus adjustment for the Department of Human Services and also for the Department of Children and Youth. So, members, this is the biennium review for the focused program, and I ask for your support.
There is an amendment at the desk. The chief clerk will report the amendment.
Johnson W. moves to amend House File Number 4546. The amendment is coded A1.
I recognize the member from Washington, Representative Johnson W.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This amendment addresses an issue that came up this session, and it was regarding foster families, foster children, and the fact that the Office of Abundantship of Youth and also Department of Children were not working together well. There was a situation where families, there was issues that came up with foster families, and they were not getting the information in a timely manner. It was getting to be longer and longer to get this back. Examples as long as 6 months to get back information regarding these foster families, and then even an example that foster families had moved on by the time they got the information. So it was an effort. It made it through. The first committee, families got stuck in judicial. It's a very big issue. I just wanted to bring it through, was hoping to get this addressed this year instead of making these foster families wait another year to get these different issues addressed. After having the amendment, I learned that it's really not germane. So, Mr. Speaker, I am pulling my amendment. Thank you.
Representative Johnson withdraws his amendment. There are no further amendments at the desk. The Chief Clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House File Number 4546.
Third reading. Discussion. I recognize the member from Morrison, Representative Schultz.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the author of the bill yield to a question?
He will yield. Representative Schultz.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Representative Noor, as you bring forward this bill, this has very significant changes to the amount of money spent from the general fund, in addition to several other funds. And I wanted to ask first, Mr. Speaker, if Representative Noor could just give us an overview as to why we are seeing the increases across the funds that are included inside this bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Noor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. Every 2 years when we have the November focused followed by the February focused, because these programs under Medicaid and some few programs under the DCYF are based on focused program. If you look even at the DCYF, MFIP, another program, there's savings in there because most of these are focused programs. And when the funding is adjusted in the biennium in February, that is reflected on this adjustment. And every 2 years, we pass a bill to make sure that we are aligned with the focus adjustments.
Representative Schultz.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And what I think is important for Minnesotans to know today is that this greatly expands that which was appropriated in last spring's session. And for the record, Mr. Speaker, it's asking for an additional $739 million in this year, fiscal year 26, and then an additional $775 million next year, fiscal year 2027. In total, the amount impacted just during this biennium, Mr. Speaker, from the general fund, it is $1.268 billion from the general fund. And this, to Representative Noor's points earlier, this is just in forecasted increases from the November and the February forecasts. And Mr. Speaker, would Representative Noor yield to a question?
Representative Noor will yield. Representative Schultz.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And so one of those big areas of increases in this bill, the most major increase, is in medical assistance. And I'm wondering if Representative Noor could provide the body what the reason is that we're seeing such an increase in the amount of money needed for medical assistance in Minnesota. To this tune, Mr. Speaker, this equates to $1.1 billion in this increase.
Representative Noor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. As I noted, I think I wanted to correct myself. The adjustments are done every year when we get the February focus, and that is what is reflected here. The changes that you're seeing here is the total services utilization that the state paid for medical assistance programs. Likewise, also for the DCYF, which is also reflected there, which is, you can see there's a saving there, and there's expenditure in the Medicaid program.
Representative Schultz.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think that one of the concerns here is that this is coming as a request from the department for this biennium where there's this large increase. I didn't hear from Representative Noor what is causing this increase. I have yet to hear what is it that is causing this increase. I think that as we approach this conversation, we need to be solutions oriented so that we're not seeing these. This is a huge cost driver. This is saying right here that we have now projected an additional $1.1 billion in expense just in medical assistance. So if Representative Noor would yield.
He will yield. Representative Schultz.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Noor, what is driving the increase in medical assistance spending during this biennium?
Representative Noor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just wanted to note that this is the focus adjustment from MMB, not the agencies, because they look into how much we'll be spending into the future too. So number one, when we have enough people applying for those programs, that increases the number of eligible individuals. When we change the rates, as we pass legislation, that changes the number in the February focus because it doesn't pick up until we pass the legislation. When we have programs that are meant to increase, that have increased utilization, that is reflected in this bill. So this is just to make sure that the books are correct based on the February focus.
Representative Schultz.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So then the question for the body is this. Is this an instance where we are paying out more money for the same number of people, or are we seeing more people who are on medical assistance today? If Representative Noor would yield to a question.
He will continue to yield. Representative Schultz.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Noor, are we seeing more people on this program, or is it a matter, and how many more people are we serving on medical assistance today, more than what we passed in May of last year? How many more people are we serving? Or to this, the other part of the question, and you can go ahead and answer this part too, is just, is this more money going for the people who are currently on the program?
Representative Noor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members. I can give an example. We've got almost 1.5 million individuals in the Medicaid program. And if you recall, there was an adjustment of 16% by the MCOs to reflect an increase in that expenditure. That is what the numbers reflect. The utilization that you're seeing, the number of individuals that are getting covered, there's always an adjustment between how much we cover on children and youth and how much we cover for seniors. So we have to be able to understand there are programs that are driving based on the increases of the premiums that we're paying, the capitation that we're paying, and also the number of other programs that we have increased the rates. And that is reflective on this focus adjustment.
Representative Schultz.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I will just note, not seeking to belabor the point here, that clearly we have a lot of work to do to get a handle on what is causing these increases. While I'm going to switch away from medical assistance, Mr. Speaker, I would ask if Representative Noor would yield.
He will yield.
Thank you.
Schultz.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Noor, there's a layered approach to housing programs in the state. As you know, because of fraud concerns, one of the Medicaid-funded programs, housing stabilization, was repealed with a bill off of this House floor earlier this session. And yet here we have a forecast adjustment bill that suggests to us that we need to spend an additional $29.5 million more just in fiscal year 2026, and then an additional $44.7 million in 2027 for housing supports. And I'm just curious if you can enlighten the body as to what the additional need is there, and why are we seeing this increase in this specific area, if you would deal to that question, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Noor.
Thank you so much for the question. There's nothing about the housing stabilization in this budget. This is the housing support program. I don't know if you recall, there was an adjustment to the focused program to remove the funding for housing stabilization because we're no longer paying for that. The second program used to be called GRH Housing. It's the Housing Support Program. And also, just as a reminder, we made some changes in how we spend the funding when it comes to people with substance use disorder that increases the amount that we're paying for housing support. This is a state program, not a federal program, that pays for housing for individuals with disabilities, for seniors, and also individuals who are dealing with substance use disorder.
Representative Schultz.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So if I heard Representative Noor correctly, he just said that we changed the policy as the legislature to change the rates, which resulted in more money going to this state-run program. However, when the policy was changed, according to what you're saying, Representative Noor, the money didn't follow. And now we're just seeking to address that through a forecast adjustment bill. That's what I'm hearing from you. That doesn't seem to be correct. So I guess I would seek additional clarification to your Representative Noor. Are we serving more people with, it kind of goes back to the original question, are we serving more people with this? Is this the same number of people that are needing housing support? And ultimately, you know, what is the reason that we have this adjustment in a huge sum of additional dollars going for housing supports? If you would yield to that question.
You're asking him to yield?
Yep.
Representative Noor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. Just for the clarity, there's nothing in this bill about housing stabilization. That program has been eliminated. When it comes to housing support, it's a state-funded program that is forecasted, meaning, number one, we serve individuals with disabilities. We serve people who have got mental health and behavioral health and substance use disorder. And when we make those changes, for example, when we say there's a program integrity concerns with substance use disorder and how that program is administered, that change is reflected in the numbers that you're seeing here. So we have allowed now, the state will take over the process of providing housing support for individuals who have got substance use disorder rather than just allowing individuals to be taken for a ride by providers and ensuring that we have a program integrity. That's what is reflected in this amendment. Adjustment.
Representative Schultz.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I actually hope that more members do their homework in reading about what comes in these projected forecast increases for the future. I realize this is the bill before us. We can choose whether or not to pass this bill or to reject this bill. But what I want to highlight for members, if you go and look at MMB's budget document, specifically over housing supports, it reads just like housing stabilization services. The amount of spend on housing support services is a direct up arrow. You can go and look at it right now in MMB's budget documents, but as it relates most specifically to the era of time that we're in, fiscal years 26, 27, 28, 29, it goes up from approximately 100 and I'd say $25 million to the end of the out years, members, it is just shy of $374 million. So members, if we continue to just allow, just because this is a state-run program, to just allow those sorts of increases, taxpayers are not well served. I have yet to hear in any of our discussions so far on this bill how we are potentially serving more people, and instead we're just seeing higher costs that is coming right from taxpayers. So I'll highlight that program for you, and it's pretty exorbitant. And I just want to reiterate, and I apologize, I did have one number incorrect, and that is in fiscal year 2026, this one. The current amount of money for this year is $302 million, and in fiscal year 29, $374 million is the projection. That's a very steep increase, And I want us to be very cognizant of that if we just rubber stamp whatever the agencies send to us, it puts us in a very precarious position as it relates to our taxpayers. So I'm urging a no vote on this bill today, and I appreciate the time. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Further discussion to the bill. I recognize the member from Wright, Representative McDonald.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Representative Noor, I wondered if you would yield for a question.
He will continue to yield.
Mr. Speaker, thank you.
McDonald.
I think Minnesotans want to know that with the, at least I want to know, and I know my constituents, with the billions of dollars that we uncovered in fraud, the $9 billion in state money and total of $18 billion plus with federal and state, that how we can justify by passing even this bill, which spends hundreds of millions of dollars more in human services, where that's where we found a lot of the fraud. There must be some savings there. I think people want to know, I think everybody in this room, I hope, wants to know that with the uncovering of the fraud, that one, we want people to be accountable, held accountable, prosecuted, and jailed. We want the money back. I think that's what you all hear. I certainly hear it. We want as much money back that we can, the billions of dollars that was stolen from our hard-earned money. I think we recognize that the federal government will get some of the money back first, but it's not just the federal money, it's our money too. Our money goes to Washington as well. Some goes to Washington, some goes to St. Paul, goes out of our pocket. Some pay it in on a monthly or quarterly, those who are self-employed. My company, we actually write a check, so I know what we pay quarterly to the state and federal government. So the question, Representative Noor, is how is it that we are continuing to spend hundreds of millions of dollars in a projected forecast from the Human Services? Surely there must be some savings. Surely that we hopefully stopped some of the fraud this year from happening. Surely there must be savings, Representative Noor. And out of the billions of dollars that was stolen, yet we still have to spend hundreds of millions of dollars in a forecast for the next 2 years. There just seems to be a disconnect. So, Representative Noor, if you could answer that question, the question is this. Surely there must be some saving out of the billions that were stolen. And so why, because of that savings, we still need to spend hundreds of millions of dollars in this forecast on your bill? And why should I support it? And if I do, because we do care about the sick, the elderly, the poor, the disabled, they are near and dear to each and every one of our hearts. That is our task to do. God asks us to take care of those vulnerable, those who aren't blessed with health, or with an opportunity to raise money or to make a living. That is our responsibility, our God-given responsibility. But we all have to be good stewards of the dollars that we take care of the people that need it. Surely, Representative Noor, that we can find the money without spending even more of the taxpayers' people's money. That is my question.
Representative Noor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just wanted to note that we are all frustrated when taxpayers' money are taken for granted and people, fraudsters, bad actors, take advantage of the programs that we have. But what we have here is taking care of the seniors, people in nursing homes. I don't know if you recall, we increased the pay for individuals who are in a nursing home facility so that the workers are paid fairly. We made that decision to make sure that there's retention of employees, to make sure that we take care of those who are direct service support workers. That increases the cost of the Medicaid program because we made that choice. When you also look at the program integrity program that we will discuss, you will see that we are making savings because of enhanced program integrity, that we're protecting the taxpayers. We're making sure that before any resources go out, we're able to do the review through prepayment review, start using data analytics, and several other things that we built in that will ensure that we're creating savings by taking care of the seniors. We have to look at that continuity of care, at the same time hold people accountable for issues that have been raised throughout this year. I guarantee you when that bill comes, you will see the changes that we're planning to implement to ensure that there's a strong program integrity, that we hold bad actors accountable, and make sure that there's a strong enforcement in our programs.
Representative McDonald.
Mr. Speaker, thank you, Representative Noor, and I'll just close with this. I've been here 16 years, and we've seen government grow and grow and grow. And I know those on the Health Committee, Representative Schumacher and yourself and those committee members, I was on Health and Human Services, Policy and Finance. It is very complex, and you're doing God's work. I completely understand that. But when I started, it was a $34 billion budget. Now it's a $72 billion budget. We continue to grow and grow and grow. And with this bill, as fast as the Health and Human Services grow, so too does the opportunity of fraud. Because the more money we put into it for the attempt to take care of the poor and the sick and the elderly, you lose track. And you lose track of those programs and the amount of money that you throw into them. And that's how this fraud was being allowed. That's just my observation for being here as long as I have. I can't support this today because it continues to grow and grow and grow. I cannot believe, in closing, Mr. Speaker, that out of the $9 billion that was stolen, that we can't find a couple $100 million that was stolen from our pockets to help pay for your bill today, Representative Noor, to help take care of the seniors and the sick and the disabled. The money's there somewhere. It's stolen. We need to get it back.
I recognize a member from Polk, Representative Gander.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wonder if the author would yield to a question. Yes.
He will yield, Representative
Thank
Gander.
you so much. So my question is this. If we choose to turn this bill down, we just vote it down, it's not going to happen. Will we have to pay this money by some other way?
Representative Noor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Quite frankly, yes, because this is a focused program that the services will continue for those individuals. This is an adjustment to the focused program. This is not paying directly for those services. This is just an adjustment. Quite frankly, also, it's taking into account the changes from HR 1 that is also increasing the cost to the system as a state that they're putting in the focused program to ensure that we're able to take care of those who need the most.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wonder if the author would continue to yield.
He'll continue to yield, Representative Gander.
So the second part of my question then is, by not paying this, we are not finding any savings. Would you say that we committed to pay these dollar amounts a year ago when we set forth the budget for the biennium? We basically committed to pay for the 2-year period. We just have to revise the numbers according to the commitment we made 1 year ago.
Representative Noor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. Yes, because this also takes into account on the focused program. Remember, every year we do focus, and this reflects what was focused. And if you want, I can send you the entire package from the MMB, which addresses the focused program, and we want to make sure that we make our books and accounting to be in the right shape. That's the purpose of this focus adjustment.
Representative Gander.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And thank you again, Co-Chair Noor. I think we all agree we want to find savings. I think we all agree we want to take care of the most vulnerable among us. The time to find those savings, the time to find that additional efficiency to take out the fraud is not now. It is as we go forward, our prepayment reviews, our post-payment reviews, all the other stuff that we're doing, right? That's the time to take out fraud, waste, and abuse. This bill right here is honoring a commitment we made 1 year ago. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I recognize a member from Anoka, Representative Engen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would Representative Noor yield to a couple questions?
He will yield, Representative Engen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Noor, could you tell me if there are any program integrity changes to the housing support appropriations that the DHS Commissioner is eligible to award out that are different from the housing stabilization services dollars, which were, as we all know, subject to a lot of fraud?
Representative Noor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. As I noted, there's a lot of program integrity process that we've already put together in a package, which is going to come to us that addresses even before the pre-enrollment, before anybody enrolls, and making sure those eligible, that there is documentation to follow with that. So that will ensure that the resources, in fact, there's a section that will also create a savings from the housing support program that you will see in our program integrity package that is going to be coming before us.
Representative Engen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So is that a no?
Are you asking him to continue to yield?
Yes. Would Representative Noor continue?
Representative Noor.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Yes, there will be the savings from the housing support program.
Representative Engen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It sounds like there are no changes that are put forth to ensure that there is program integrity there, even though we're spending more after we just literally slashed that program because of the fraud. Would Representative Noor continue to yield for another
He'll
question?
continue to yield. Representative Engen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Could you, Representative Noor, tell me why we go from $86 million in 2026 of funding to $159 million, nearly
Representative
double
Noor.
in the budget?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. This is, if you're talking about Minnesota Care Program, there is a change. The individuals who are losing their eligibility in the medical assistance and they're moving to Minnesota Care, which increases the cost to the state. If you are aware of, there are many changes that are going to be reflected in 28, 29 because of folks who are moving from one eligibility to another. So those are captured in the 2027. So those changes are clear when it comes to the number of individuals who are losing coverage. In fact, also other individuals who are seeing that they are moving away from medical assistance and moving to the other side. So all those changes are captured in the Minnesota Care Program.
Representative Engen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So you wouldn't say that it's because of H.R. 1, which was passed at the federal level, which now mandates that states do not use federal funding to provide health care for illegal immigrants? Is this now just going to be on the state's dole instead of a matching fund alongside the feds?
Are you asking him to continue to yield?
Yes, I am.
Representative Noor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I think we addressed that issue last year, which took away the coverage for individuals who are undocumented. So this is not reflective of that.
Representative Engen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would say otherwise. I would say that that's exactly what this number is, that what we did last year in deciding to terminate that, which is a good thing for taxpayers, for Minnesotans, for American citizens, we're now having to pay the bill for what we did. And the bill is going to be increased from, look, 86 million this year to 159 million next year. That's absolutely absurd. And now we're financing and funding programs that we've already eliminated under the premise that it's completely fraudulent with new money, with no new integrity program incentives for the commissioner to follow. This is just repackaged fraud. We might use different terms and terminologies, definitions here in this bill and in the previous bill that we passed in about 15 seconds off the House floor, despite the fact that it's 45% of our state budget. But this is repackaged fraud, and a vote for this is a vote for more of the same.
Further discussion on the bill? I recognize a member from Rock, Representative Schumacher.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. Despite the conversation that's gone on today, this is still just a forecast adjustment bill. It is standing up the programs that we have, given the numbers that the forecast has set forward, and keeps our budgets balanced as per the Constitution, and would ask for your support.
I recognize the author of the bill, the member from Hennepin, Representative Noor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is the first time that we have debated a focus adjustment that I've seen on the floor. This is something that we do every year without any issues, so I ask for your green vote. Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members.
Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll. The chief clerk will call the names of the members voting remotely.
Jones.
Jones, aye.
Jones votes aye. Kozlowski. Kozlowski. Momani Hiltzley.
Momani Hiltzley, aye.
Momani Hiltzley Votes aye. Kozlowski.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 86 yeas and 45 nays, the bill is passed and its title agreed to. The next bill on the calendar for the day is House File 1695. The chief clerk will report the bill.
House File number 1695, an act relating to transportation. Metropolitan Council making forecast adjustment to special transportation services.
I recognize a member from Dakota, Representative Koznick.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. House File 1695. This is a bill that forecasts changes to the appropriations for the Special Transportation Service Program, which includes Metro Mobility and Metro Move. The forecast adjustment is consistent with state statutes and states' obligations for programs that are stipulated in statutes 473. And the bill would make appropriations consistent with the Council's most recent estimate for the programs as included in MMB's February 2026 economic forecast. The appropriation in current law, however, is based on the estimates made in the February 2025 economic forecast. So the changes or the increases in the appropriations in state fiscal years 26 and 27 are in the bill, and this is primarily due to slightly lower revenue at Metro Mobility, less revenue at DHS, and the federal government for the Metro Move program, and then also slightly higher contracting expenses than had been forecasted a year ago. There is an amendment to the bill, Mr. Speaker.
There's an amendment at the desk. The chief clerk will report the amendment.
Koznick moves to amend House File number 1695, the first engrossment. The amendment is coded A1.
I recognize the author of the amendment, the member from Dakota, Representative Koznick.
Thank you again, members. This amendment is just technical. It actually establishes the effective date being effective the date following enactment. And this allows for the fiscal year 2026 appropriation change to take place before the end of the fiscal year. So I'd urge your support for the A1 amendment.
I recognize a member from Scott, Representative Tabke.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I support this amendment.
Any further discussion on the amendment? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed, say nay. The motion prevails. The amendment is adopted. There are no further amendments at the desk. The chief clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House File number 1695, as amended.
Third reading. Discussion. I recognize a member from Scott, Representative Tabke.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I support a green vote on this bill.
I recognize the author of the bill, the member from Dakota, Representative Koznick.
Again, members, this is a forecasting adjustment for federally obligated and mandated services that we're honored to provide through Metro Mobility and Metro Move for those that require paratransit and are eligible for the paratransit programs. So I appreciate your support.
Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll. The clerk will call the names of the members voting remotely.
Jones.
Here you go.
Jones, aye.
Jones votes aye. Kozlowski.
Kozlowski votes aye.
Kozlowski votes aye. Momani Hiltzley.
Momani Hiltzley, aye.
Momani Hiltzley votes aye.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 106 yeas and 27 nays, the bill is passed as amended and its title agreed to. Messages from the Senate.
A message from the Senate, Madam Speaker. I hereby announce the passage by the Senate of the following House file, herewith returned as amended by the Senate, in which amendments to concurrence of the House is respectfully requested. House file number 3709, an act relating to financial institutions. Perryman moves that the House concur in the Senate amendments to House file number 3709 and that the bill be repassed as amended by the Senate.
I recognize the member from Stearns, Representative Perryman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And members, we passed HF 3709 on April 30th with 130 votes, allowing our local banks and credit unions to hold digital assets in custody accounts. In the Senate deliberations on the bill, the Senate added a clarifying amendment that would clean up the language on what these accounts will be and what they won't be. Their amendment was a simple change. Doesn't change the bill, just a very simple change, making it clear that if a bank or credit union chooses to offer digital asset custody services, they are acting strictly as custodians and not as fiduciaries. This was a friendly amendment agreed to by both the banking and the credit unions, trade groups, to ensure there's no confusion about the role of our local financial institutions in holding digital assets. It does not expand the bill in any way. It simply provides clarity for institutions and for the Department of Commerce as the regulator. With this clarification in place, I would ask for your green vote in favor of acceding to the Senate's language. In other words, custody is custody means holding it for the customer, and fiduciary is manage it for the customer. So we are just going to be a custody holder. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Any further discussion on the motion to concur? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion to concur with the Senate amendment say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. The motion prevails. The clerk will give the bill its third reading as amended by the Senate.
Third reading, House File number 3709, as amended by the Senate.
Third reading. Discussion. I recognize the member from Stearns, Representative Perryman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is a good bill. Everybody's in a good spot with it, and we have found peace in the green space. So please vote green.
Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll. The clerk will call the names of the members voting remotely.
Jones.
There you go.
Jones, aye.
Jones votes aye. Kozlowski.
Kozlowski votes aye.
Kozlowski votes aye. Momani Hiltzley.
Momani Hiltzley, aye.
Momani Hiltzley votes aye.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 119 yeas and 6 nays, the bill is passed and its title agreed to. Messages from the Senate.
Message from the Senate, Madam Speaker. I hereby announce the passage by the Senate of the following House file herewith returned as amended by the Senate, in which amendments the concurrence of the House is respectfully requested. House File Number 3900, an act relating to state government, proposing an amendment to the Minnesota Constitution. IGO moves that the House refuse to concur in the Senate amendments to House File Number 3900, that the Speaker appoint a conference committee of 4 members of the House, and that the House requests that a like committee be appointed by the Senate to confer on the disagreeing votes of the 2 houses.
I recognize the member from Itasca, Representative Igo.
That is my motion. Mr. Speaker, the House has a really strong position on the bill, so we got to work it out. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion to refuse to concur? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion to refuse to concur, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed, say nay. The motion prevails. Announcements by the Speaker.
Announcement by the Speaker. The Speaker announced the appointment of the following members of the House to a conference committee on House File Number 3900. Igo, O'Driscoll, Long, and Joachim. That goes with that.
Further announcements by the Speaker.
Announcement by the Speaker. A message from the Senate has been received requesting concurrence by the House to amendments adopted by the Senate to the following House file. House File Number 3522.
I recognize the member from Anoka, Representative Niska.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. We are going to recess, and on recess, the Republicans will return to our caucus room.
I recognize the member from Hennepin, Representative Long.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Democrats, we are going to our caucus room as well.
All those in favor of the motion to recess, please signify by saying aye.
I move to recess the call of the Speaker.
He does. Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. The motion prevails. The House stands in recess.